Do you have anything that you want to discuss or anything?
Yeah.
Any ideas?
Yeah.
Please,
So
let's
I
do
would like
it.
to do. I would like to philosophize with you right now.
Okay.
Okay. A pattern that I see in humanity is people, or a mass pattern is being afraid of themselves, of their power. Right? I see this a lot.
Okay.
And my question to you is, why do people mistrust themselves or mistrust their intuition, their guidance from God?
All right. So can we make this more personal about you? Because it seems very grand.
That's what I want to talk about. That's
So
what I'm coming.
well,
This is my 11
so
minute
you
consult.
believe people mistrust their intuition? That's the first thing. That's a belief you have.
No.
So when you ask me that, that's why I'm hearing.
This is not personal.
But I'm saying, so how do you know people mistrust their intuition?
Because it's quite obvious. They're saying, "Hey, I felt this and I didn't do this, and then this made it was very difficult."
But how do we know that whatever fragmented reality that the word intuition encompasses,
Mm-hmm.
how do we know that's not their intuition? Playing a game with themselves for fun. So I'm just wondering, how is that mistrust? Like, how do you know what mistrusting intuition is? So what I'm saying is your question is leading, and I don't really. That's my answer. It's like we get the question to be less leading?
Yeah. Okay. Let me ask another question.
Okay.
What do you think the differences of concrete and earth nature is?
The differences between like what concrete man makes, to kind of manipulate into
concrete and nature.
Okay, one is one is highly touched by man, many men, and one it exists regardless if man touches it.
Now, do you think the earth has like incredibly healing properties?
Yes. So if someone is like out of balance, like, and they are at a place where, that's what I hear when I'm imagining what you mean by healing is someone's out of balance. Can they be brought back to balance by becoming in balance with what's unmanipulated? I would say it's a great technique. That's a great strategy. One of the greatest, arguably.
How do you obtain power? Like energy. How do you get energy?
I think it's like opening up to the energy. So everything is energy, including ourselves. But if I'm wanting to congregate larger amounts of energy, and then like it's almost as a plant taking in sun and then growing because it's taking in that sun. So like how do I take in energy? The sun, definitely. The sun. It's a strong word. Araya she just got charged. And I'm imagining she took that. There's something that she has in her mind, like whatever she saw sets off some sort of reactions in her brain and body, that there another cascade of events that happens that she actually unlocks energy in her, but it's already in her. So it's a little bit of a tricky thing. Like, I am energy, and much more. So when you say, "How do I get energy?" It's like, well, that's what I am. Now, I can definitely unlock it, and I can definitely congregate and bring in more energy from other places, like in which I'm also connected to in an unseen way. But the sun, the unseen with the human eye way, the sun, the sleeping definitely seems to build up energy, and not sleeping seems to be a great way to leak it. If someone wanted to feel really depleted, like really wasted of energy, I think like not sleeping is a great way to experience that. So sleeping, eating obviously, if we're going to go into a more esoteric realm of like unlocking energy that's already within me, putting myself in fun, comfortable situations, such as like ruining my reputation type of idea that I talked about in a previous video. So maybe doing things that are against what people and myself identify myself as is definitely a way to loosen up some energy, because there's probably some rigidity with any identity. There's probably some rigidity. So if I breach that identity, it's like, oh man, that's what am I gonna do that? And then I think someone has a choice to get. I usually get excited and ambitious and generous and grateful for it. Those are the ones that I typically like to come up right now. But so I can be very generous and grateful for that energy. In the past, though, I think I used to unconsciously choose what culture probably was influencing me too. It might be like more anxiety or hiding or shy. And the stories, that's the crazy thing about stories, though, to add on to that. Like, there's a story that goes on in Araya's mind. There's a story that goes on in my mind. Like, I can be embarrassed, but to be embarrassed is something, that's my choice to be embarrassed. There's something, I'm judging what's going on around me in some way in my brain that causes a whole eruption of energy in my body that's already there. So that's just to elaborate on that.
It's like unlocking your DNA.
In a way, I think that's a great phraseology for it. But I think anytime we're getting to this deep of a truth, words can be distracting.
Yeah, really.
I know. It's like, man.
Mm-hmm. I hear you, brother. Okay, what do you think about the importance or significance of sex? The act of sex.
Yeah, so sex. So if I'm energy, it's like sex is everything in a way. It's the way that it seems like humanity reproduces, and since me being a human, it seems extremely important. I mean, sex is something so significant that actually, that's a great. You've seen what culture has done with sex. Like, sex is such a fragmented reality if listening to words, because I can literally read like a book that millions of people believe is the way that we're supposed to treat sex, and then I can read another book that 2 million people think is the way we're supposed to treat sex, and I can read another book like that 1 billion people agree. So it's like a very subjective. It's so powerful that I think something as powerful as sex comes along, that light is so bright and pure and reproductive and creative and mystical that if someone blocks it, it can create a lot of fragmented ideas about reality. Now, if someone's to surrender to their sex and their sexual energy and sex, yeah, that's definitely a way of not only gaining and back to the previous conversation of like unlocking energy, gaining energy, giving energy, becoming a more energized being. Yeah, sex is a lot. Yes. It's highly like guns, like sex, guns, drugs. Think about that. Sex, guns, and drugs, and ideas, aka music. So music, sex, rock and roll. Music, sex, and rock and roll. These are like, actually it gets into the study of memes, like mimetics. So I think I told you a little bit about this, and there's a great book, Virus of the Mind, but they break it down to where as DNA is to genetics, it's like ideas are to mimetics, and mimetics are what builds culture. So like genes at building the humanity, and it's arguable that genes are controlling us, or our DNA is controlling us, and it wants us to reproduce in the best way possible. And then there's an idea that mimetics ideas want to be reproduced in the best way possible. So they trigger certain things that are like fear or sex or hunger oriented. So yeah, the rock and roll lifestyle, like food, that kind of, those ideas, They're big. Those are big ideas that a lot of people disagree upon. And they kind of create, for someone that's completely unlocked with it though, or unleashed with it, I think that's where you see people like Jimi Hendrix and Jesus Christ and Jim Morrison and Led Zeppelin and just these iconic figures that seemingly make a huge impact on planet Earth. I think they really surrendered to their sex. Yeah. There we go. Thanks for asking the questions.
Oh, man. Oh.
Run,